So if they
Kelly, can I switch with you?
Yeah.
Do some dropping.
kill off, if they fumigate, we were just wondering, like when they fumigate, if they attempt to build the soil up with more, like with like mycelium.
So fungal populations with mycelium, it's kind of an interesting new research area. I think as folks are beginning to understand what's happening in the soil, we're understanding the role that mycelium play. And one of the challenging things with agriculture and farming is that when we do all of our tillage, most of the time we're disrupting those mycelial networks, right? So some of the fungus that they found that's really important in terms of this kind of symbiotic relationship with the roots, that actually helps roots talk to each other, but really actually access nutrients. It kind of makes the roots reach further, and the mycelium get I think sugars from the plant, and the plant in turn gets other nutrients, gets more nutrients from the soil itself. But that's one of the questions with this, as we're learning about all this stuff, is what role does that play? And that's a big conversation, especially around some of the reduced tillage and no tillage agriculture that's happening now. Is, do you get better fungal populations? Basically, what's your balance, right? What's your balance of microbial life to fungal life? And how is that important in terms of actually building kind of soil health and a functioning soil ecosystem?
In the UK, they still don't have glyphosate still banned.
Uh-huh.
But they're using that as an argument. They're saying it's so bad for the environment to till the land. We need glyphosate to spray across. It's so much better for all the animals. And everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
Some people are believing it.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like so crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely, that's with most of the no-till that's being practiced worldwide, it's all conventional because of the herbicides. And there's not a good way to control weeds if you don't have tillage. So.
And Daryl, with your no-till trial, how are you planning on dealing with the weeds?
So we're trying a couple different techniques that I think are interesting, but who knows? The tricky thing about ag and ag research is that all these systems are so different, right? So what we do here on the Central Coast is going to be so different than what an organic no-till farmer would do in Iowa, right? Growing corn or soy, like they're just such different crops. So if you think about what are the crops that matter to us here in our environment, right? It's the fast-growing fresh vegetable crops like lettuce, spinach, broccoli, those types of things. And those types of things are going to have a whole own host of considerations and challenges. So when you think about the way no-till has been successful in both kind of conventional and organic settings, is most of what folks are doing right now is, again, either using herbicides or using like a roller crimper. If folks have heard about that. So that's a tool that basically you grow a really thick stand of cover crop, you roll it down at a certain stage in that crop's life, and what you do is you crimp the stem or the vascular tissue. It can no longer grow at that point, and what you have is basically a big mulch mat that you've grown through the winter that you plant into that, and that acts as your weed barrier.
Is that what you did with the grass up there?
No, that we just mowed.
Oh.
But somewhat similar idea of trying to increase our
Are you guys going to do the
biomass.
roller crimper thing?
So we're not, and the reason for that is that it's not, and Peter can tell you about what they've been working on up in Berkeley on this. But, for us in our fresh vegetable system, and being in California, there's a couple problems. One is if you have a thick mulch mat, for us on lettuce or spinach or things like that, you get a lot of bug pressure, right? It's a big area for sow bugs and things like that are going to decrease the kind of quality of your yield. And secondly, with a lot of the roller crimping, because you have to wait until ideally it's right either at flowering or post flowering on your crops, That for us in terms of our spring window of tillage is way later than most growers are getting into the ground in California. So we're doing this kind of interesting thing where, again, it may, I think one of the challenges with research, and especially ag research, is on one side you do things that are kind of, I don't want to say idealistic, but that are maybe less practical, because it might point more towards an ideal sense of a production system, right? Where it's like maybe we should, if we really want to do reduced tillage or no tillage, we really should be waiting until later in the season, because that's actually going to allow us to sequester carbon and do all these things. But economically, given the landscape of agriculture right now, it's just not practical. And sorry, I gotta take this call. Hey, Joji. No, it's okay. I just wanted to touch base quickly about the